I just did a video about young knife makers, would-be knife makers, and I gave them some tips on how to get started. And I thought, well, I suggested that they find a mentor, and I thought, well, what about some tips for guys who might want to be a mentor? So I thought about it, and I wrote down some ideas. So here are my 10 so far. Tips to being a knife-making mentor. Number one, above all else, in terms of being a mentor, choose your mentee carefully. Don't just take anybody that comes into your shop or approaches you online. Be careful, not because there might be some problem for you, but what you don't want is you don't want a guy or a gal that's not an honest person or whatever. So do a little research, whether it's online or whatever, but or get to know them first. That might be a better recommendation. The main purpose is choose your mentee carefully. It doesn't matter if they're gals or girls, gals or guys. It doesn't matter if they have disabilities. It doesn't matter if they're young. I would limit it to 13 or something like that, just maturity's sake. But that might be one of your criteria. Just because somebody's 22 years old doesn't mean that they're responsible with tools in their hands. So be careful in terms of picking your mentee. So anyway, number two, be encouraging. Our culture has got plenty of crap to tell us that, we're no good, or we're not as good as somebody else, or my hair's not this, or my car's not that, or whatever. That's all crap, and you know it, so do I. So be encouraging. Don't encourage shoddy work, but be encouraging with the individual going forward. Helping them to get that first knife done and then their second knife. And we know that young mentees or old mentees aren't going to stay where they're at. They're going to progress if they continue knife making. So work with them and guide them, but be encouraging. And that brings me up to a segue to guidance, not direction. Don't tell somebody what to do. And I'm not talking about safety or your shop rules. I'm just talking about in terms of their knife making, don't tell them what to do. Guide them. If this one lady, she wanted to build a serpentine-shaped blade for her first knife. What a mess. I tried to talk her out of it, but she wasn't having it. So, sometimes you got to learn by the school of hard knocks, and that's okay. That's absolutely okay. Lucy's playing with she's playing with a block. But anyway, guide them, don't direct them. If they need to learn some lessons the hard way, that's okay, as long as it's not too frustrating or discouraging and then they just quit altogether. And then again, if they do, sometimes it just wasn't for them. So that's up to you. I would say open up your shop if you can to somebody. If you're mentoring online, that's one thing. They live in Michigan, you live in Florida, whatever. But, if they're nearby, open your shop up to them. If you're worried about risk and insurance and all that other stuff, I can't help you. You're right. That's a risk you got to take. Sometimes your homeowner's insurance or your business insurance will guide that, or sometimes you can get away with it in churches. They have their own insurance, and so if you step up to the church and say, "Hey, I'm going to mentor one of these church members to be a knife maker in my shop. Can you cover me under your insurance?" And they say yes. Hey, man, you're golden. So open your shop up to people if you can. And if they're young people, always have mom and dad come over for a little bit till you make sure that you and the kid are going to work out okay. I did have a young man come into my shop one time, and mom and dad just drove off. I guess I was the babysitter, but and he had some disabilities too. But you know what? he didn't get along with other people very well. He was very difficult to give rules to and make him follow directions, et cetera, Bring him into the shop, though, and give him good guidance. I can't believe how well that guy did on his first knife. It was awesome. He was 14, 15 years old. He was like a fish in water, because now he was doing something. It just made all the difference. And mom and dad couldn't believe it. They just were shocked. So, choose your mentee wisely. Have mom and dad come over for the first while and make sure you and the mentee are gonna do all right. I would say that we all know that there's some difficult steps in knife making, and there's a time and a place when you should step in and take over for them on their first knife or second knife or something, just to show them that you can see that they're building facets into the grind or something like that, and you want to help them get that out because you want them to go away with their first knife a pretty good success. Not going to be perfect, not going to be like you would do it. It's their knife, but it's going to be good, and we all know that their first knife isn't going to be all that great. So, give them a little encouragement, step in during the hard spots, help them have a good experience, get them to come back, and then you can, step. It's easier to step back than it is to step in the farther down the road you get. So, also, I operate on the see one, do one, teach one, so don't just give the knife maker, would be the mentee, a piece of steel and say, start the hogging. No, you demonstrate how it's done. And then with the machine turned off, let's say the knife sander or whatever, machine turned off, you get them up there and you help them to kind of feel what it's like with the machine off, and then they can do it with the machine on. So see one, you demonstrate, do one, you give them some guidance on the machine before it's turned on, and then turn the machine on and let them kind of get the hang of it. One thing I like to do with hollow grinds is I get the hollow grind started, and then I let them fill in the gaps the rest of the way through. And then usually at the end, I have to take over again. But usually on their second or third one, they're getting the hang of it pretty good. Okay, here's a good one. This is where you have to learn some tact, okay? What is tact? Tact is telling somebody to go to hell and make them enjoy the trip, right? You got to be kind. But you got to be honest. If their work looks like shit, you got to say, well, you don't say it looks like shit, do you? You say, hey, this is not up to what I think you can do. So you're being encouraging, but you're being honest. You can't just let a guy go on thinking that what they're doing is okay when you know it's not. So be honest. Don't just let them keep going doing the same bad, wrong thing. Be honest, but be kind. Okay, let's see. Lay down your rules. If you're going to bring somebody into your shop or even just online, lay down your rules. Usually safety is a big thing that I talk about first off. I don't allow anybody to come into my shop and turn on a machine without I'm standing there right there with them at all, ever. There's too many things that can go wrong, whether it's a bandsaw, knife sander, table saw, it just doesn't matter. Lay down your rules. One of the rules might be do exactly what you say and nothing else. I don't know. Just whatever you think fits between you and your mentee. This is a tough one because I know that the majority of you out there would never do this. This does not apply to hardly anybody on the face of the planet. But it happened to me one time. I watched it happen one time, and I realized, holy crap. Don't have fun at somebody else's expense. I know it's fun to say, okay, go get me a bucket of prop wash, or go find me a muffler bearing, or get me some rabbit eggs, or whatever. Okay, it's funny, ha, 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 right? But in terms of knife making, when your mentee is doing something, don't laugh at them. Don't have fun at their expense. They're trying to learn this skill. You're trying to be encouraging, not a jerk. So don't have fun at their expense. Last but not least, don't teach something that you don't know how to do yourself. If you're a flat grinder and the guy wants to do hollow grind, you tell him that you'll stand there and watch, but you don't know because you've never done it, and don't try to be a teacher or something that you're not. If you don't know how to solder bolsters, don't tell a guy, hey, let's do a soldered bolster. You're going to teach somebody how to do something wrong, or you're both going to have a bad experience. Don't do it. Just teach them the things that you know how to do and know how to do well. I would use the word competent. You don't have to be an expert, hollow grinding is tough, and, maybe you don't put out the best grinds. Maybe you got a little bit of wave in your grind, but, everybody learns a little bit over time, and that could be you too. But don't teach something that you're not even competent at, okay? That's a bad plan. Anyway, I want you to give you some encouragement. That's what you're trying to do with mentees. So now I'm talking to mentors or would-be mentors. I want you to be encouraged. I've had probably 30 or 40 mentees in my shop. 2 of them turned out to be apprentices. 1 of them is doing fantastic. If you want to check him out, it's CK Knife and Tool on YouTube. He's doing a really good job. Chad, if he watches this video, you're a good man, you're a good dad, you're a good husband, you were a good Marine, and you're a good knife maker. Keep it up. All right, everybody, good talking to you.